Hello, for anyone who can hear me, my name is Tanya. I'm a physio here at On Your Game. I'm just going to give people a few more minutes to hopefully join on. Okay, so I'll get started. If anyone joins in later on, that's great. But my name is Tanya Chumak. I'm a physio here at On Your Game. And tonight I'm going to be talking to you about how posture can affect your shoulder joint. Okay, so first we're going to talk briefly about the shoulder joint. So basically it's a ball and socket joint. So you have your arm bone, your humerus, and it fits into the glenoid fossa of your scapula. So scapula is this sort of triangular bone that sort of sits on the back of your rib cage, and together that sort of makes the glenohumeral joint. Okay, so we're going to talk quickly about scapular mechanics. So if you have your arm or your humerus in your scapula, in the glenoid fossa, as you lift your arm up, basically your humerus is going to start to lift to about 30 degrees, and then from there, for it to keep going, your scapula is going to need to upwardly rotate to allow for more movement. So if it doesn't upwardly rotate, you won't really be able to lift your arm. So this is what we call glenohumeral rhythm. So it moves at a 2-to-1 ratio. So basically the humerus moves kind of twice as much as the movement of the scapula. So for example, if my arm is up here at about 180 degrees, that means that my humerus moved 120 degrees, and that my scapula upwardly rotated to 60 degrees. So that's what we call this nice glenohumeral rhythm. So for nice arm movement, you want them both to be working simultaneously together to allow for nice movement at the joint. And when that doesn't happen, then we end up with a bit of complications. So now we're going to talk about sort of the key muscles that are important for this movement to occur. So on the scapula, to help with this upwardly rotated movement, you have two really important muscles that I'm going to touch on. So you have your serratus anterior, so that attaches from your first 8 to 9 ribs, wraps around, and it's going to attach onto the medial border of the scapula, so just right over here. And that's going to help with that nice upward rotation, and the other movement it does is protraction of the shoulders. Okay, so that's your serratus anterior, really key in allowing for that motion. The second one we're going to talk about is your trapezius muscles. This is a very large muscle. It's kind of like a triangular fan-shaped muscle. It originates sort of at the base of the skull and from your vertebrae C7 to T1, and it fans out and has 3 different parts. So you have your upper traps, your middle traps, and your lower traps. So your upper traps, they're going to fan out, and there's different attachment points. So you have the lateral third of your clavicle, the lateral part of your acromion, which is kind of the top of your shoulder, and then the lateral part of your scapula. So it makes this nice triangle shape. And all 3 of those have different functions. Your upper traps help elevate your shoulders. Your middle traps are going to help more with retraction, and your lower traps more with kind of depression, so bring your shoulder down. And most importantly, both your upper and lower traps aid with that upward rotation of the scapula. So basically with serratus anterior and upper and lower traps, you have a nice movement. So if you can imagine, like, this is my scapula, your serratus anterior is going to pull it this way, your upper trap is going to kind of pull it that way, and your lower trap that way. So it does this nice motion all together, so all three help with that rotation, and then that allows for nice movement at the shoulder joint. So all of those need to be strong and firing to allow for that smooth motion. So those are kind of the scapular dynamics and the important muscles that act on them. So what happens with posture? So if we're sitting all day, or we're a bit slouched like this, and our head ends up a bit like this, we get really rounded and protracted shoulders, and our head is kind of forward like this. So this is now going to create kind of a lot of length through the back here. And you get lengthened and weakened muscles. So you get lengthened and weakened serratus anterior, and lengthened traps as well. And since it's coming forward, you end up tight with tightness up here as well. So you get sort of tightness in your pecs, and that can actually pull your scapula forward as well. Because ideally, if this is my rib cage, you just want it sitting nicely, a bit tilted back. But now we're in this position, so it's getting pulled forwards, and it's going to start to disrupt the mechanics. And then other things that can happen as we stay in these postures, you can get winging of your scapula, or something known as scapular dyskinesia. So this is when you get pulls on different parts of the scapula due to weakness. So let's say your serratus anterior is weak. You might get winging of your scapula, so it might be kind of popping up your rib cage, either on the kind of inside portion or sort of the lower portion. So if this is my scapula kind of on this portion, or you could get sort of unevenness of your shoulders. So you might have one shoulder kind of higher up and one depressed, and that's usually due to low trap weakness. So essentially we end up with kind of a mismatch in our scapular dynamics, and you can kind of get this rounded posture, or even more of a curvature in your spine known as kyphosis. So you could just kind of have a slouch posture, or you could have kind of a permanent curvature more known as kyphosis. So going into sort of the studies, and the studies that have looked at this, basically a lot of studies have found that this rounded posture, this kyphotic posture, can alter scapular mechanics. So like I mentioned before, it's going to tilt the scapula forwards, and it's going to cause weakness in your serratus anterior and your low traps. And in regards to pain, that's a debatable one. We'll kind of talk more about it. But there is research showing that a kyphotic posture can kind of decrease sort of the available space you have in your shoulder joint, because you're kind of narrowing off the joint. And it's believed that that can cause sort of an impingement or pinching on your rotator cuff muscles. Your rotator cuff is what keeps kind of your head of your humerus in your shoulder socket. So if you have less space, in theory, it could impinge on it and cause shoulder pain. So there were studies that found that people with increased kyphosis also had shoulder pain, but not all the time. So it wasn't really a clear correlation. So sometimes they had pain, sometimes they didn't. So you very well could be kind of sitting like this all day, or you could have this posture and never develop shoulder pain, or you could have this posture and develop it, and maybe that is sort of a key thing that you should be looking at. So it's not necessarily the cause of shoulder pain, but they could very well coexist. It's basically kind of the moral of that. And then in terms of mobility, so shoulder range of motion, so like I said, we want really nice shoulder range of motion, good scapular mechanics. There was a study that looked at 30 individuals. They were all asymptomatic, and they looked at different postures. So they were upright posture, like a moderately slouch posture, and then a very slouch posture. And it was basically found that with more of a slouch posture, you had a decrease in shoulder mobility in all ranges, but mainly in forward flexion, so like this, abduction like this, and external rotation. So when you bring your arm back like this, and it was even found that some had a decrease in this forward flexion by 35.5 degrees while they were slouched, which is quite a significant amount to lose range in. And that even a slight increase in posture, so like an improvement of even 5.8 degrees, had a drastic improvement on shoulder range of motion, basically in all ranges. So basically it does really, really affect mobility. There was another study that looked sort of at reaching tasks, so overhead reaching tasks, and examined scapular mechanics in reaching tasks. This was done with 80 individuals. Some had this kind of slouched posture and others didn't. And basically it found that those with sort of the protracted shoulders and the forward head posture had decreased activity in those serratus anterior muscles, causing for your scapula to be more pulled forwards, and then again, just creating weakness and altered scapular mechanics. So really reinforcing that posture has a massive effect on the way that your scapula moves and allows your shoulder joint to move. And then kind of to wrap that up, there's a big systematic review done. So systematic review basically looks at a variety of studies, looks at all the studies, kind of gathers all the evidence, sort of summarizes them essentially. So this one looks to see if like posture, so protracted shoulders and kind of rounded posture cause pain and mobility issues. And again, the kind of consensus with this was that there is not really a correlation between the kind of kyphotic posture and shoulder pain, but that they can coexist. You can't kind of alone say that it's just the posture causing the shoulder pain, but that there is a drastic positive correlation with kyphotic posture and a reduction in range. So even the smallest kind of correction in posture can really, really drastically improve your range. So really, really important for like daily function, daily life, to have full shoulder range, be able to reach things, be able to kind of reach behind your head, behind your back. So really, really important to be able to address that. If you find that you're kind of sitting all day like this, you notice you're getting tight here and kind of sore through here, might be something that is affecting you, and something to look out for, because you want to kind of keep this nice and open and keep your shoulder moving nicely, basically. And a really good exercise that I think is really useful for this, that you could give it a try if you feel like this is affecting you, is if you lie sort of flat on your stomach and your forehead on the ground or on a mat, and then you bring your arms, so back up, but both arms up into like a Y position. So you're now on your stomach, both arms in a Y, so it's called a prone Y raise, and your thumbs are facing up. And basically from here, you'd be lifting your arm up in the Y position, holding for a few seconds, and then coming back down. So this reason why this is such a good exercise is because studies have found that in this position, so it's about 120 degrees kind of angle, you get maximum contraction of both your serratus anterior and your lower trapezius muscles, and those are those really key muscles in those scapular mechanics and allowing for that upward rotation of the scapula. So this might be a really good exercise if you feel like this is kind of something that might be happening to you, or just in general if you want to work on your postural muscles and kind of regain that strength. So it might be worth trying, just on your tummy, raising your arms up in a Y. And again, if you feel like this is affecting you, or if you're experiencing any pain, shoulder pain, big back pain, or any issues, to absolutely call in and book in, get an assessment. And if you have any questions about this live video, please leave a comment below, and I'll wait a few minutes to read them. And if you think of something later, that's fine, and I'll definitely get back to you later. So I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a nice evening. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you. And I'll wait a few minutes anyway. Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like we have any, so I'll end it here. But if you come up with anything, or you watch this video at a later date and you come up with a question, then please feel free to comment, and I will definitely get back to you. So I want to thank you again for watching, and have a lovely evening. See you. Bye.